Welcome to ESB Outspoken with Angela and Richard Shelp as we tackle another exciting topic.
Today's topic that we're going to tackle, Angela, I refer to is the fear factor in meetings.
Now, we've seen a lot of that lately.
We've seen a ton of it. And you know, some of you guys may be familiar with the show that was on television called Fear Factor, where people had to overcome their fears. And that's really what we're talking about today, is people overcoming their fears in the world of meetings. So first, Ange, there's that fear of those people doing in-person meetings. Talk about that a little bit.
You know, we had some clients early on that were, still wanting to do in-person events. And I think the fear what it came out to was, they started thinking about how it would look if somebody ended up with COVID at their event. Even if they socially distanced and they wore masks and they had a small group, what if somebody had COVID at their event and then they put it out on social media where they got it and they felt like that was a problem? You've also got the fear of lawsuits. And I think that fear really has kept events from happening in person. We've had one or two in-person events, but most of them, 99.9%, have gone online. But we still have the fear online. We've got other fears.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But, when you're talking about the in-person fears to begin with, a lot of that is occurring at big companies.
Right.
And a lot of it is occurring within the healthcare space, because those people are directly involved. They see what's going on in the hospitals and they know the issues. And so they're fearful of having meetings surrounding that. And they're fearful of how it looks to put a meeting together, right. Honestly. And then companies, like you said, I think the companies are more worried about lawsuit issues than just about anything.
Well, and I mean, you do. I mean, you worry about the health part of it. I mean, if something were to happen, it would just be catastrophic. So
yeah, that's right.
So you just have to be so careful. So obviously going virtual is the best thing to do right now.
Actually, going virtual is the best thing, but let's talk about the virtual side of it, because
the fears of virtual too.
There are a huge amount of fears of virtual. In fact, I think there are more fears of virtual than there are in person. The people are afraid to tackle this new meeting environment for various reasons. Ange, give us a couple.
I think the virtual is the fear of the unknown. It's just everybody is so new to it that you don't know what can go wrong. And I think we're seeing, as clients are getting in there and doing a few of them and they're working out, they're so much happier, and we're going to see tons more in the future. Once everybody kind of gets through their first one and knows that they're okay and that they've survived it. But it's kind of jumping in there the first time and hoping for the best and trying out different platforms and seeing what's the right one and making sure it can handle the number of users. But I think it's the fear. What if the event, what if it crashes? What if there's no connection the day of the event? What if the speaker doesn't show up? So there's just a lot of fear that goes on with it, a lot of what ifs fear.
But I think one of the biggest fears is it's outside of the meeting planner's comfort zone.
Right.
Because a lot of these people have been doing these meetings for 20 years, 25 years, et cetera, and those meetings have been going fabulously. And they don't have that fear anymore about, the food's not going to come out on time, or the AV guys aren't going to show up, or the speaker's not going to have his lavalier mic turned on properly. That stuff, they don't have a fear of anymore because they are so used to rolling with it. Yeah. But now they're starting all over again as a brand new first-year meeting planner in the virtual space. And I think that's huge.
That's it. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of way back. This will show our age.
Oh, heavens.
At IBM, when we were working with all of the secretaries and assistants back when, telling them they had to go to laptops or portable computers, and instead of doing everything on paper, and it was tough, and a lot of them quit at that point. They
struggled.
But it reminds me of that. It's just learning something in a completely new and different way.
And I will tell any of you guys who are out there listening that have struggled with making this move, understand that it's just like when you learn how to swim. The best way to do it is to dive in. And you get wet, but you don't sink to the bottom. You find a way to get back up to the top. And I think it's so important for people to realize that if you're going to be successful right now, and you're going to put on great educational events, and you're going to make sure that your conventions and your members and your employees are happy, then guess what you have to do? You have to dive into the virtual event pool. You
got to dive in and figure it out and test it. I mean, I would say the best way to do it is test it in-house. Get employees to jump on your Zoom events and practice and practice and practice. And I mean, that's what we've done here. We've practiced all kinds of different things, and I've probably driven people crazy making them practice. But it makes a difference. And if you get the more comfortable you get, the easier it is. And I think too, one of the things I would suggest is if you're bringing a speaker on, and remoting that speaker in, if you're doing a Zoom session, practice that as well. Always have a run through. Always look at the background ahead of time to make sure that it fits with what you're looking for, so that you're just not piping him in or her in the day of the event. That you're trying it ahead of time and making sure that it all runs smoothly, and that they know how to use, if they're doing polling or if they're doing Q&A, how that's all going to work. Or if you're doing a part pre-recorded and part live, how that all fits together and how it's working. But I go back to practice, practice, practice.
Well, and I also say attend a lot of sessions.
Yes.
Watch how it's done. See what you like in those meetings.
See how you like it.
What entertains you, what engages you, what makes you happier and better.
Right.
And then I think that eliminates some of that fear.
I think it does too. Right. And test out the platforms and talk, some of the things that we have seen go wrong are platforms going down that couldn't handle the number of users. So I think that is a big thing when you're looking at new platforms and who you're going to pick for that. Talk to some clients that have had big events and make sure that they can handle the number of users that you're going to have.
Yeah, I think it's fabulous. So you guys who are a little afraid,
don't be afraid. It's great.
Yeah, of doing the in-person meetings. We understand that. But really don't be afraid of virtual, because it's going to be here for a long time, people.
And it's a great thing. It's great.
It really is great. So think about what we said, take that into account, and you be outspoken.